Hello and welcome to, I guess, a special edition of our Easter week devotionals. I realized after preparing for Good Friday that the book of Matthew, the writer Matthew, actually gives us a glimpse into Saturday as well. So between the death of Jesus and the resurrection of Jesus, we have the Saturday in between. And so Matthew gives us a very brief glimpse of what takes place, and I thought we would take a look at it as a Saturday devotional. So here we go, Matthew chapter 27. Beginning in verse 62. The next day, that is, after the day of preparation, the chief priests and the Pharisees gathered before Pilate and said, "Sir, remember how that impostor said while he was still alive, 'After 3 days I will rise.' Therefore, order the tomb to be made secure until the third day, lest his disciples go and steal him away and tell the people he has risen from the dead, and the last fraud will be worse than the first." Pilate said to them, "You have a guard of soldiers. Go make it as secure as you can." So they went and made the tomb secure by sealing the stone and setting a guard. This is a very brief look at a day that must have been very difficult for the disciples themselves, having actually seen Jesus be put into a tomb Friday night. And then here they are on Saturday. But the story here is really the fear of the Pharisees, of the Jewish leaders, who apparently knew exactly what Jesus was claiming. So let's just take a look at a couple of these briefly. The next day, that is, after the day of preparation. So we just finished with Friday, and Mary Magdalene and the other Mary were there sitting opposite the tomb, watching Jesus being put into the tomb on Friday night. Okay, Friday is the day of preparation. So the day you prepare for the Sabbath. So the next day, that is after the day of preparation. So now we're on Saturday. Matthew's being very meticulous here about what a day of the week is. So this is Saturday, okay? Then what happened is the Pharisees go to Pilate and they're concerned. And they're saying, hey, look, they understood Jesus enough to know that he had proclaimed that once he died, he would rise from the dead 3 days later. So they're trying to kind of avoid this problem ahead of time. They're assuming it's not going to happen, but they are assuming the disciples are going to try to pull it off anyways. So they simply asked Pilate for a guard to be posted. I just think it's interesting that the Pharisees understood Jesus' teaching enough to know to expect a resurrection in the next 3 days. And so they're preparing for it ahead of time in case the disciples try to make it look like Jesus resurrected. Of course, we know the disciples weren't planning that. They were hiding. They were tossed away in an upper room, hoping they're not going to be arrested. They were the last ones you had to fear for a phony resurrection. Now, I just think it's interesting that when Jesus actually rises from the dead, and of course then literally proves the fears of the Pharisees, how did the Pharisees handle it? Well, if you go to Matthew 28 and you get to verse 11, says, while they, so Jesus has risen from the dead, the ladies are going to tell the disciples, while they, the ladies, are going, behold, some of the guard went into the city and told the chief priests all that had taken place. So these big, brave guards aren't supposed to let, somebody take away the body, have let somebody take away the body. And when they, the chief priests, had assembled with the elders and taken counsel, they gave a sufficient sum of money to the soldiers, meaning they bribed them. So they bribed the soldiers and said, tell people his disciples came by night, stole him away while we were asleep. Okay, soldiers who are going to be killed for derelict of duty because you weren't able to defend and protect the dead body in the tomb. And that means if you can't do that, then you're going to be killed for your lack of ability to fulfill your main duty. Instead, here's a whole bunch of money, and we want you to say that you big, brave soldiers who've been doing this for a long time fell asleep. And while you were sleeping soundly, the disciples came, rolled the stone away, stole the body, rolled the stone back, kept the stone away, and off they went. And so, unfortunately, it goes on to say, and if this comes to the governor's ears, we will satisfy him and keep you out of trouble. So they took the money, did as they were directed, and the story's been spread among the Jews to this day. It's been spread among us till this day. One of the many hoaxes of the resurrection that Jesus' body was stolen by the disciples. And all we got to do to answer that question is simply say, show me the body. Where is the body? And then we can have this discussion. Because if the disciples literally were able to overpower the guards or sneak past them, roll the heavy stone away, grab the body of Jesus and run out. Eventually, they would have had to have stashed the body somewhere. Just show us the body. I just think it's amazing that the Pharisees understood the teaching of Jesus well enough to know that he's planning on rising from the dead. And like, maybe we can prevent that from happening, or let's make sure the disciples don't pull it off. They understood what he was proclaiming, that he was the Messiah who died on the cross for them and was planning to rise from the dead. Well, it's Saturday and Sunday is coming, and we're going to hear exactly how the events play off tomorrow. So join us for the service at 11 o'clock online. And God bless you.